And I'm delighted to say he joins me now to discuss all this. Douglas, great to have you back on Uncensored.
Hey, really good to see you again, Piers. It's been too long.
It has been too long. You're my first.
God, you can see the smug. Just look at that smile on his face. He looks like a fucking jackal. He looks like a... Where's his big red fluffy nose? Honk honk. Because he's a fucking clown? Chat.
First guest since the summer break. So much has gone on, not least in Israel with this war with Hamas. A massive development, obviously, over the weekend with the killing of...
He's like, yeah, let me get my Islamophobic rant up. Here we go. Let's go. All brown people are bad.
6 hostages by Hamas.
You can just tell the fucking neatly pressed blue button down, the tight fade, the spiffy haircut, the brutally white skin. You know he's about to get off on some Islamophobic rant.
As it's believed, the IDF were moving in
nips.
to try and rescue them.
His nips are so hard they could cut fucking glass.
First of all, your reaction to that?
Well, I mean, nobody can be particularly surprised by now about the brutality of Hamas, but I think still people are shocked. I think everyone's shocked that they would be holding on to hostages for almost a year in tunnels underground, making them
Can you imagine? Can you believe they held on to their hostages for over a year?
to go who knows what amount of torture and deprivation. Only then...
Yeah, there's no evidence of that. In fact, there's only evidence of torture and deprivation on the side of Israel. What's the fucking name? Teman, the fucking torture camp in South Israel? What's the name of that, chat? It's like, it might be even Seaman. It's like something like that. Teman, Seaman.
One of them was an American citizen as well.
Oh my God, no. Please don't tell me one American citizen is a hostage.
I think there's a lot of questions.
Well, yes, you bring up a great point, Nevin. The Palestinians are worthy victims. Remember that Western chodes like these two have a set of worthy victims and a set of unworthy victims. And white people are unworthy victims. They're not worthy to be victims. Brown people, on the other hand, very worthy of being victims and should be so. And when they are not the victims, and when they victimize their victimizers, then that's what we need to pearl clutch about. Because they're not playing their role, okay? They're not acting like how they should be behaving in our society, all right? And that is a threat. You know, you can, if you just go and read Michael Parenti, I mean, it's just, it'll change your life, you know? The violence of the privileged elite is deemed democracy promotion. The violence of the poor, which seeks to upend those privileged social relations, are deemed terrorism. All right, and yet what's crazy is that the motivations behind each are completely diametrically opposed, and are often placed erroneously by the reactionary ruling class. They are, in other words, terrorism is equated with liberation, and tyranny is equated with, democracy. Anything that keeps the status quo going is fine, because it's just the way things are, this is the way society is, and any disruption to that, well, you're only seeing that violent disruption a surface as you're interpreting that on the surface and saying, well, that's bad because it's literally violence personified, being acted out. But you're not also acknowledging the socioeconomic conditions that the violence arises from. And when people are pushed literally into a corner of the earth more densely packed than Tokyo, and concentration camp-like conditions are imposed upon them, they are brutalized for decades and decades. And not only that, every peaceful means to negotiate and arrive at some diplomatic settlement has been stonewalled or sabotaged by the people that are terrorizing you, the tyrannical power that has dominion over your people and your land. Then that pushes you to the last resort. which is to violently resist your own annihilation, basically.
America about how it could be that an American citizen could be held hostage and then brutally executed like this. But yes, I mean, this is what Hamas does. And by the way, all the people who said, that Israel shouldn't go into Rafah, that they shouldn't go any further south, as I think I said to you before, Piers, months ago, of the two aims in this war that the Israelis have, to destroy Hamas and to get the hostages home, it was clear a long time ago that the hostages had been taken south, precisely to Rafah and other places there. And this is why the IDF has moved in. This is why they've been fighting all these months.
The interesting development in Israel itself is the very angry reaction towards Benjamin Netanyahu. A lot of people in Israel saying, look, we understand the need to get rid of Hamas. We want to get rid of Hamas, but our biggest priority is getting the rest of these hostages out. There are believed, I think, to be 97 hostages unaccounted for, of which 33 are feared to have been killed, which leaves 64 or so who may still be alive there. And the question that many are asking in Israel is, are they all going to get killed as Netanyahu continues to prosecute the war in which he's doing so? And if that is the case, then shouldn't there be a hastening of a peace deal of some kind?
The thing is, Piers, is that, I mean, public sentiment, public mood at such times is obviously incredibly febrile. It's so grotesque that these poor young people should have been so close to being rescued only to be executed by Hamas. My view is that, it's understandable. There's grief and there's outrage in Israel. But, it is very important, like with some of the headlines worldwide. We had CNN and the BBC and others in recent...
He needs this. I feel like I picture him with like a little scar going down his eye, He's like a villain from Die Hard or something.
Days
Maybe that's giving him too much credit.
The murder of these hostages as though they sort of died of natural causes and their bodies were then rescued from the tunnels.
Yeah, I was going to say Bond villain, but even that just seems a little too sophisticated for this twerp.
What happens in these situations, in my view, is that because there's...
Oh, so we can just discard everything that you just said then. He's like, in my view, okay, well then let's move on then. We don't need to hear what you say.
Very little, really, that the public can do, certainly in Israel, to pressure Hamas. I mean, Hamas...
Yeah, the guy has never had his fucking face stuffed into a locker, and it shows, Like, this is why, bullying is okay, all right? Somebody didn't do their due diligence in high school. They should have bullied this kid more, make him feel a little bit more humble, all right? Maybe a little less racist. Just like a smidge.
Does what they want, and what they want is genocidal. But, it is possible to pressurize a democracy.
And look where he's speaking from. The fucking Freedom Tower. He's in New York. That's nice.
Democratically elected government. And we've seen that in our own country. We see that around the world. If there's a group that you can do nothing to persuade, and somebody else who is vulnerable to...
All projection. Literally, that's not true. Hamas signaled back in 2007 that they are accepting... Hype, baby. That's right, you guys. It's September Subathon. Let's go. Give me your subbies. Gift those subs now in the stream. It's gonna be a fucking extravaganza, all right? You want to save yourself from the ad breaks and all these, You want a customized experience tailored to perfection on your behalf? You fucking sign up for this stream, goddammit.
Let the boy watch.
That's right, let the boy watch.
There is a list.
You know what I mean?
This list.
2007, Hamas is like, yes, we accept it. We accept the two-state solution. All right, we accept the two-state solution. Even after Operation Cast Lead, which was the worst, most horrific crime against Gaza by Israel, even after the devastation, before they even cleared the rubble from that 22 days of death and destruction, which Amnesty International called, in which you had hundreds, if not over 1,000 people killed, and I can't even remember how many thousands of tons of rubble there was. But anyway, 22 days of death and destruction. Even after all of that, Khalid Mashal, the head of Hamas, said, "We are willing to accept a two-state solution." Now, where does this word, this phrase, two-state solution, come from? It comes from Israel itself. It comes from the United States. It comes from the UN, the two-state solution, the peace process, the path to peace. So, it's never more telling than, when you have every side of this accepting the world community. I mean, at the very least, okay, we accept the two-state solution along the borders of 1967, or pre-June 1967. And what do you have? You have the lone holdout, the one that's trying to paint the opposition as being belligerent. They themselves are belligerent. You get me? Israel itself is the thing that it projects. Israel is embodying itself in the so-called crimes of the people that they're fighting. Yeah, exactly, Batman. Okay, sure, we accept that our land was stolen. Fuck it, and this is what happens when you negotiate from a weak position, which Hamas was famously, much like the PLO before it, calling for armed resistance against Israel. What happened to the PLO? It started in 1964. What does the PLO stand for? The Palestine Liberation, L for Liberation Organization. It advocated for armed resistance, open armed resistance in Israel. By the 90s, in the Oslo Accords, what do you have? The leader of the PLO accepting the Oslo Accords, which, famously, was sort of a two-state solution, path to peace, so for them to adopt all of this euphemistic language that Israel uses was like a sign of how they have been ground down over the decades. Ground down. Their leaders have been assassinated. All the moderate dissidents have been assassinated. All the people like Ismail Haniyeh. You think that that's just some sort of individual phenomenon? No, Israel has been assassinating the most even-tempered, most logical, sane, rational mediators between Israel and Palestine, in an effort to radicalize these organizations. They don't want a two-state solution. They don't want to recognize Palestine. So what do? They have to equate them with terrorists, and you can't have that be believed if you have peaceful, negotiators who are accepting the UN resolution 242, for example. You can't. The international community is not going to buy it if it's not this terrorist, evil organization named Hamas that's at the helm in Gaza. So, why are we talking about all this? Because he just said that, he just repeated the lie again, that Hamas is belligerent. They just don't want to, they don't want this peaceful settlement. It's really on them. They're belligerent. They're being obstinate. They're being stubborn. Of course, we know all that's a lie. It's not true, and it's never been true. And, Israel is holding all the cards. Israel has all the power in this. There's no, like what's his name? Michael Brooks said, there is no power symmetry in this relationship, in this geopolitical event between Israel and Palestine. Same thing that Noam Chomsky has echoed. there are many complex geopolitical events in the world, and this is not one of them. So everything that's happening is a manifestation of Israel's liking, you know. And I hope that makes sense, everything I just said. Let's keep going.
Persuasion, or at least to political and democratic pressure, you know, it's quite commonplace that you would focus on the second. I just think that it's worth remembering that, as far as I understand it, the stumbling block in the negotiations has been the issue of the Philadelphia corridor, which is the Gaza-Egypt border. And just very quickly, the reason why that matters as an issue and why, as I understand it, it's such a sticking point in the negotiations is, of course...
Hey, thank you, Level 3, for the subscription. You did the right thing, and we appreciate that. I only wish more of you would fucking step up to the fucking plate and pull your weight around here, okay? Because if you want to excel and be a good person and become smarter and more handsome, then you will sign up for this stream. You will subscribe, okay? It confers many benefits to your health, to your entire life. I mean, it's really quite impressive. So, thank you so much, Conquer, for the gifted 5. We appreciate you. Welcome in. Shout out to the mods, by the way. Conquer is a mod, and I'm your mom. Kemosabi, did you also? What happened? Wait, Kemosabi got a fucking... What's going on over here? What they said about Kemosabi up here? Mommy. Hey man, I was like the #1 bit donor for a while. Well, you know what? Almost only counts in horseshoes and hand grenades, alright? But we do have a fucking hype train up in this motherfucker. Hanny got a fanny, got it started, baby. Let's go. I'm about to embarrass myself. I don't give a shit. It's fucking Labor Day, Monday. Might as well be Saturday night, folks. Nobody wants to hear your poor, sad story, Batman, okay? You're fucking Batman, alright? Nobody believes that Batman is poor. Especially someone who calls themselves Batman online. Clearly. Okay? I'm the cult leader, that's right. This is not a cult, guys. This is not a cult, okay? We just do have our own brand of Kool-Aid, which I do sell on my merch store. So if you would like to order some of that, please, by all means. It is blessed. It's holy. Batman went into too hard into crypto. Batman used to be Bat Bro, Crypto Bro, or something. Thomas Wayne's okay, but Bruce Wayne, get a job. That's what you gotta do. Thank you, Red One. You gotta invest in this cult. Guys, if you don't give, it goes dark. I think you know that, okay? You gotta give. Hey, Ravage, thank you for the super chat. You like turtles. Well, we like that you like turtles and that you like spending money on this stream, okay? Yes, I am starting my own NFT, non-fungible token. It's called Get Fucked. No, I'm not really. That's dumb. I wanted to send you an email. I was doing research on influencers giving shout-outs to charities. I was thinking we could give shout-outs to Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it. Bruce just beats up petty criminals within an inch of their lives. Thomas Wayne built... Who is Thomas Wayne? I don't know who that is. Conquer the Concubine also likes turtles, in case you guys didn't know that. And we can go in the spaceship together, which is tied to the comet that's circling the galaxy. Duh. Kool-Aid flavored Topo Chico sounds lovely. Oh, Batman's dad was okay? Damn, yeah, and then they murdered him? Like, what the fuck?
the Egypt Gaza.
Yeah, they don't. It's crazy because they're all gung ho about this Philadelphia corridor. Like, I don't know why it's such a point of contention. It's only a violation of international law for Israel to occupy the Philadelphia corridor, and they have expressly said that they wouldn't, but they still are. I love when they laugh because they just tell themselves, I don't know what, it's just the border with Egypt. It's just the Palestinian border with Egypt. I don't know why they care that Israel occupies the corridor.
The border is where the rockets have been smuggled in from for years.
Okay, now he's doing the typical Hasbara, yes, with the Philadelphia corridor. That's where all the tunnels are from Egypt. Did you know that? And this is what I love, because this is where reading books becomes very, very important. Because there have been, and I always reach for my trusty fucking book by Sarah Roy, Gaza Strip, The Political Economy of De-Development. When we talk about fucking tunnels, I mean, she has a whole thing about tunnels, the rise of the tunnel economy, what that actually means. Why did they start building tunnels, chat? I mean, can you just logically think, do you think a country, which everyone recognizes is a country because they are sovereign, they have their own indigenous people, they are afforded their territorial unit under international law, which is recognized as the Gaza Strip, the West Bank, and East Jerusalem as its capital, okay? Do you think that this country just wants to build tunnels because, you know, they want to be, I mean, what's the thinking there? Why is it that when the United States bypasses congressional approval and pulls the emergency clause so they can make a weapons sale to Israel urgently, fast, okay, and they send them, you know, let's just say, for instance, 14,000 rounds of tank ammunition valued at $106 million, while they are committing a war crime, while they have, even before October 7th, obviously instituted an illegal blockade, which is recognized as a war crime. I almost said recognized as a war crime, which is recognized as a war crime. Okay, so they're already an illegal occupier under international law, even before October 7th, okay? Go back to December last year. What are we doing? We're pulling emergency stop gaps, emergency clause, we're pulling the emergency clause to send them more weapons without congressional approval, under the Leahy, whatever you call it, the Leahy law. That is a war crime altogether, even before October 7th when we were sending them aid, because it's illegal to send a country that is committing an ongoing war crime. It is illegal to send them weapons. It's illegal to send them money. That's why it's hilarious and sad and tragic and awful and horrifying that the most moral army in the world is the Houthis, is the Yemenis. They're actually doing what the responsible countries should be doing, which is blockading a country that is committing a crime of aggression. And so now he's saying, well, we have to occupy the Philadelphia corridor because that's where all the tunnels that come in from Egypt, that's how Hamas smuggles rockets from the Philadelphia corridor, which is the southern border, Egypt and Gaza. Okay, well, literally, the bulk of those tunnels were created after Operation Cast Lead, specifically, and after Operation Protective Edge. Why? Because, like we said, Israel is blockading the Gaza Strip. They can't get basic commodities. They can't get basic human survival needs. Are you trying to shut me up right now, Conquer? Am I ranting too long? I'm just saying, okay? They, I mean, I'm sure everybody already knows this, but that's why the tunnels, that's why, like, Israel created the tunnels. Israel, in some cases, even built the tunnels. And this is all an effort. I mean, what else, what do you expect these people to do? You know? What do you expect them to do? You know, and I always go back to this. 90% of all construction materials, fuel and appliances, 70% of all clothing, 60% of all food was smuggled in from Egypt into Gaza via tunnels. So we're not talking rockets. Rockets don't even make up, you know, a sizable percentage. Okay? But you know, let's go back to the rockets. Okay, let's just assume that they are smuggling rockets. Okay, why is it not considered that when we send them, you know, why is it not considered by the United States, by us, why is it not considered that when the United States bypasses congressional approval, sends a country that is committing a war crime, tank ammunition, for example, or F-15 fighter jets, or JDAM Javelin missiles, or white phosphorus, etc., why is that not considered smuggling weapons? It's literally illegal. It's literally against the law. No country wants to smuggle weapons, smuggle rockets in through tunnels. People, you know, legit countries have military bases. They don't have to worry about smuggling in. They just have, you know, contracts with other countries, or they actually have the means to develop their own in-house because they actually have infrastructure, okay? So, you know, it's just really, really insane that they are bringing this up as if it's a legitimate talking point. When, remember, like we always go back to, when you deprive people of their human rights, you have no right to admonish them for how they're resisting their annihilation. And you know, everything should be understood in the overarching framework of an illegal occupation. That's what this all is about, okay? And when you illegally occupy, and I say illegally, but you know, when you occupy people, when you deprive them of their human rights, all bets are off. You don't get to judge these people anymore. And you know, you don't get to judge them along cultural, social lines or issues. You don't get to judge them for building tunnels, you know, and you don't get to incriminate them for violent reprisals, okay? The violent reprisals should be blamed correctly on Israel. If Israel wishes to invoke the right to self-defense, it will vacate the occupied territory first. If Hamas then still fires rockets into Israel, even though Israel is not occupying these people, blockading these people, literally placing the country under siege, okay, then Israel might have the case to invoke the right to self-defense. But as it stands, Israel has the right to fuck itself in the ass and nothing more, okay? That's all that is afforded for Israel. You know, and I'll say it till I'm blue in the face. Reprisals against an occupying force are the fault of the occupier. An illegal act cannot, a moral right cannot be derived from an illegal act. Isn't that so beautifully poignant, right? Beautiful sentence. A moral right cannot be derived from an illegal act. The right to self-defense, in this case, on Israel's part, the right to self-defense cannot be traced back to an illegal wrong.
Into Gaza, where much of the munitions and guns and much more has been smuggled in, and
yeah, much more. What much more? He doesn't tell you. Like I said, 90% of all construction materials, which they desperately need because, like we said, Israel likes to, quote, mow the lawn, as they call it, which is a euphemism for mass murdering through a high-tech bombing campaign of disproportionate violence against the civilian population designed to humiliate, terrorize, and punish them. And that is the supreme international crime being committed here. Okay?
Israel, as I understand it, is simply trying to make sure that that corridor is no longer able to be policed, as it were, solely by the Egyptians, but should also have Israeli oversight as well. I mean, that's a long-term issue, of course.
I mean, just look at how dehumanizing his language is. That the Egyptian border needs to be policed. These are savages, you know? They need to be, their own borders need to be policed by Israel, of course. You know? Israel has to make sure they don't get those weapons so that they can fight against them. Because, you know, going back to our earlier point, there are worthy victims and there are unworthy victims, and Israelis are not worthy victims. Palestinians are worthy victims. They are not playing when they are not playing the role of victims, then that's when we need to clutch our pearls. And yeah, that's why they need Iron Dome. So what this chud will never tell you is that Israel needs to cease its illegal occupation. Israel is in violation of international law ever since 1967. That's formally. Now, I would argue, obviously, 1967 was a way of normalizing 1947 or 1948, but
focus on the short-term issue of the hostages, and that's quite understandable. But in the long term, if there isn't just going to be an endless Groundhog Day-like repeat of these wars in Gaza, it is necessary, as I see it, to stop Gaza being remilitarized.
Notice they always call it Gaza. Okay, that's another what Sarah Roy talks about. She quotes another. I forgot who the person that said this, but it is perhaps the greatest achievement of Israel to separate the national territory of Palestine. So now that we think that, you know, it's a great victory for Israel that the administration of the Gaza Strip is different from the administration of the West Bank. They have been, what's the word? You know, the national territory has been broken up. In fact, this is quite interesting. The fact that we think of, even though we know that this is not true, but obviously Israel has treated the Gaza Strip and the West Bank differently. Let's just say that. You know, obviously with Gaza it's more severe, and with the West Bank, I mean, it's starting to look increasingly more like Gaza. And West Bank is Israel's main prize. That's really what they want. And if you look at the land, if you look at a map, you'll understand why. But you know, the fact that the Gaza Strip is thought of as different from the West Bank, the fact that, you know, for a time, well, I would say up until obviously this very day, Gaza has been occupied by Israel, but we don't consider, or at least international law doesn't consider, well, I don't even know if that's true anymore, but Israel is said to have, let me back up for a second. In 2005, Israel claims that it withdrew from the Gaza Strip, so therefore it's not occupying the Gaza Strip, right? But the point is that the Gaza Strip, if the Gaza Strip is occupied, so is the West Bank. That's the main point, because it's one territory, right? It's one country. It's the country of Palestine. You know, if you say that the Gaza Strip is occupied but not the West Bank, well then you're assuming that they're not the same, that they're not a one territorial unit. Does that make sense? So if one part of Palestine is occupied, the whole, because essentially what are you doing? If you blockade the Gaza Strip, the West Bank is also occupied because the people in Gaza can't move to the West Bank. The West Bankers can't move to Gaza. They can't communicate with each other. They have different administrative bodies. So it's a very that's what they've sought to do. I mean, they do that between Israel has done that with the Gaza Strip and the West Bank to literally be a bulwark between the two, physically, not only physically but culturally, politically, and then they do that within each territory. They break the West Bank up. They fully encircle the encampments. They fully encircle the settlements of the Palestinian, the actual legit settlements. They encircle those settlements with their own illegal settlements, and they've done the same in the Gaza Strip. Ariel Sharon talks about this in the 60s and 70s, how he wants to have his what he calls the Jewish fingers in the Gaza Strip, so that if there's we needed a Israeli settlement between Khan Yunis and Rafah, and between Rafah and the border, and so on and so forth. So I'm ranting, I know.
After this war,
the problem internally for Netanyahu.
Yes, Crimson, and I would also say, so Crimson says, even if they're not occupying Gaza, an air, land, and sea blockade that starves people is considered collective punishment and is illegal under international law. And I would agree with you 1,000%. And to also what I would say is it is argued, quite correctly in my view, that a blockade itself is an occupation. You are still the occupying force in the Gaza Strip if you do control all those things. You are the occupying power, and that's because under international law, occupation status hinges on exercising effective control. And when you can exercise effective control over a land, or a territory, I should say, then you are in fact the occupying force, even though you don't bear the traditional marker of a military presence inside the Gaza Strip. You are still considered the occupying power. And that is, a point that I like to make when they obviously talk about how, oh no, we withdrew in 2005. Well, no relevant organization that studied this matter has concluded that. That's the only one that says, yeah, we're not the occupying power. Israel's not the occupying power. Can you think of the only entity that might be relevant to this, save from the IDF, let's say? It's the Israeli court. Israel's own court has said, we ended our occupation. But literally no other international governmental or political body confers or concludes or agrees. And that has to do with technology, is the argument, the way that occupation has changed. Because literally Israeli legal scholars or lawmakers maintain that, well, if it is an occupation, well, then it's the first of its kind, because there has never been an occupation in history without a military presence. And I like to make the analogy to that. I would say, well, then the United States isn't an empire because it's the first, because if so, it'd be the first empire that hasn't conquered large swaths of territory, throughout the world. And in fact, we know that it has, but it also doesn't need to in this age of technology. We are not a empire like the British Empire. We don't go out conquering land per se. What we do is we have a pointillist empire. We have little dots scattered across the map by which we can project military strength.
His own defense minister, Yoav Gallant, on Thursday got into a screaming argument with him during a cabinet meeting, specifically about the Philadelphia corridor. His belief, which many share in Israel, is that that is a deal breaker for Hamas for any kind of ceasefire deal that involves returning the hostages. And that whatever you think of Hamas, if you're trying to get to a position where those hostages are returned.
It's like all the imperialists are like, damn, Israel, you can't get rid of a third world armed resistance group? Like shit, like I was on your side like for the first couple months, but like you guys are so bad at this. Like, why can't you get rid of Hamas? Well, it's like, shit. Like, that's the strongest critique, right? That's like the most leftist Israeli is like, well, our government's just inept. We should have won by now.
Then there's got to be some compromise here with Hamas. He says that if the Philadelphia corridor, which
like why can't you take care of a bunch of peasants?
Netanyahu has made an absolute deal breaker his end in recent weeks, if that remains the case, then there's simply no chance of Hamas ever agreeing to any ceasefire deal to return the hostages. And there are concerns now internally, politically in Israel, that Gallant may well resign, and that may
through a fucking famine too. They need those hostages alive, because if they're dead, then they don't have any bargaining chips. Am I right about that? I mean, you know, that's the one political leverage that they have. They have live hostages. Oh, you don't care about your hostages, huh? It's amazing that they're still alive, if there are any still alive. Hamas is stealing weapons that don't detonate on their land and sending back over the dome.
Well,
that's right, yeah. Unexploded ordnances.
Potentially cause a fall of dominoes, which could end up with Netanyahu's government falling.
Well, again, I mean, politicians fall out all the time in Israel, like everywhere else. That's not surprising itself that Gallant and Netanyahu might be in disagreement on something. But again, I mean, I'd come back to this point.
Yes, Hitler and Himmler got into an argument. Well, you know, that's just politics. You know, that's what this guy's saying. That's just standard practice when you know. I mean, what country's not committing ethnic cleansing and genocide? I mean, this is just typical politics. You know, boys will be boys.
Asking Hamas to do something nice, asking Hamas to compromise is not a very straightforward thing. You know, Sinwar himself, who planned and plotted the 7th of October, is an utter fanatic. And this is something, by the way, that we in the West have sort of forgotten about. We use the term fanatical to describe anyone about their football team as a supporter and so on, but a real fanatic.
Yes, speaking to my Western audience. Remember, us in the West, remember who the real fanatics are. They're brown, and they're living in the poorest places on earth, okay? Those are the real threats to society. These people are fanatical, has nothing to do with us. When we're fanatic, we're just fanatic about our sports. Yeah, I know, and he's talking about Sinwar. Why is Sinwar even relevant at this point in the negotiating process? Oh, that's right, because Israel murdered the fucking last peaceful negotiator. The actual moderate, right. Yeah. I wonder why they are. I mean, it's just, this is like epic gaslighting. That's what it's like, why are you hitting yourself? Why are you hitting yourself? Is the vibes.
Is somebody willing to kill and die and doesn't care about that. And Sinwar, everything we know about him is that he is precisely of that type. We know there's an account in the New York Times last year of the Israeli doctor who saved Sinwar's life when he was in prison in Israel some 13 years ago or so now. His life was saved by an Israeli doctor. And Sinwar said to this doctor,
his life was saved by an Israeli doctor. Wait, why was Yahya Sinwar going to die in the first place? It's like we put him in we put him near to the brink of death. Israel puts him to the brink of death, and then an Israeli doctor saves his life, right? Why did his life need saving? Oh, he was in an Israeli prison being tortured to death. Oh, well, we saved him. It's like, what do you call that when you have, there's these crazy mothers that make their children sick so that it gives them like a purpose to have in life. And so they, a movie was made about and then someone, she like eventually killed her mother. Munchausen by proxy, that's it. It's like they put you in this condition and then they feed you enough to keep you alive. And it's like, look at us. Look at what we're doing. That's like, this is the United States foreign policy as far as I'm concerned, right there.
He thanked him for saving his life. But he said to him, one day, he said, currently you're strong, but one day you'll be weak, and then I'll
Mommy dearest.
Attack. One of the young people.
I need to read Sinwar's novel, Thorns and Carnations. I would love that. I need more, like, resistance fighter literature, People that are like, that's why I like Mao, Lenin, Stalin, because they were like, not only Castro, not only did they do it, but they wrote about it. Really? That's awesome. I would love to learn more about. I just got 2 books. Oh, I finally got that. That I've been reading that book on Amazon, which is, I'm so glad to have like a full book to really just sink my teeth into for how that corporation operates. But also Chip War. I just started Chip War. And Blood in My Eye, yeah. I've read a little bit of that. Comrade Batty's been reading that on stream. I've been loving that. And that's we need more of that sort of revolutionary spirit and language to really pour over and to re-inspire us from time to time. Yeah, beg me to keep you alive, exactly.
Murdered by Sinwar and his forces on the 7th was the nephew of the doctor who saved his life. This is Sinwar. This is Hamas. You could literally save the life of Sinwar.
And he still won't. Yeah, let's bring the. What he's doing is taking the entire geopolitical context of this, 75-year-long occupation of Israel on the people of Palestine. And he's whittling it down to this personal anecdotal story about the leader of Hamas when he was detained in an Israeli prison and beaten within an inch of his life and saved by a doctor. Apparently he was saved by a doctor. And then when October 7th happens, Hamas kidnaps the nephew of the doctor. And so look at this. Look how ungrateful Hamas and its leader is. I mean, come on. Is that really what this motherfucker's trying to say? Did I just nail it? You've had to translate every page. Do you read Arabic? If so, that's very impressive.
Will still come back to kill you. Tell me.
Yeah, they say Hamas will still come back to kill you because it has nothing to do with an illegal occupation. This is just, it's one person and another person. It explains the entire thing. How ungrateful are the people of Palestine?
That such a person is a reasonable negotiating partner.
Well, he's certainly he's a terrorist, and Hamas are a terror organisation. And I've completely concurred with you from the start of this that what they did on October the 7th was of such a heinous scale.
It was heinous. It was so heinous it got my hiney in a kerfuffle. It was so heinous it made my hiney shid my diaper. That's how heinous it was. It was so heinous I wanted to be sent to Venus because it was so heinous. It was so heinous it made me penis shrivel up into my diaper, into my belly button. Now I have 2 belly buttons, 2 innies. My penis was so heinous it was an outie, but now an innie.
That Israel obviously had to respond with massive force as they've done. But you'll also be aware, as we head towards the first anniversary of what happened there, that this is an ongoing, increasing, massive problem worldwide for Israel and its reputation, because so many people, including the UK now under Labour government, they've just announced, as we're talking, they're going to suspend some arms sales to Israel, 30 of
782 IDF casualties. I think it's more than that. I think the IDF casualties were in the thousands, maybe even tens of thousands. Remember, a casualty doesn't mean that the person dies. Every casualty does not mean death. It just means injured or death.
450 licenses will be suspended due to a clear risk the weapons will be used.
Honey, are you okay? You barely condemned your Hamas today.
Used by Israel in a way that could breach international law. So there is increasing pressure, as you know, around the world for this to get resolved. Increasing views expressed by many countries that what Israel's now doing.
It's like, yeah, but we haven't killed enough brown babies yet. We need to kill a couple 100,000 more, and then I promise you everything is going to change.
It constitutes a war crime, and you and I have debated that many times.
No, not to my knowledge, I show sped. I think, Cat, let's look it up then. Alright, you want to fucking call me out on my own goddamn stream? Fine. Okay? If I'm an asshole, I'm an asshole. Does casualty mean death? No. The word casualty is a broader term than death, thank you, and can refer to a variety of situations including injuries, capture, and missing in action. Okay, so I think we all realize that I'm the smart one here, and if you need to stream someone to learn, don't stream that guy, okay? I show sped, don't stream him. He doesn't know what he's talking about. Fucking prick wants to show me up on my stream and then be wrong. Where's it? Get him to the wall. How dare you question the streamer?
But do you not feel that something has to give here? That this has to get resolved somehow? And that the only way to do that...
Tim Bob knows what's up. What's up, Tim Bob?
...is, as with all...
Hanny got a fanny. Thank you so much for starting that hype train. I still don't know how that happened, but... I do appreciate the hype train. Guys, it's September subathon, okay? If you don't give, it goes dark, alright? If you enjoy the stream, I mean, give me money, okay? I don't think that's a big ask, okay? I know a lot of you are poor, I get it, okay? But I don't want to hear your fucking sad story, okay? I am a compassionate man, but I don't give a fuck.
All these situations, you have to eventually... compromise in some way, and the problem for Netanyahu is that people think he is completely incapable of offering Hamas any compromise, and therefore there is no deal. So the families of the hostages still there, and hundreds of...
Who is this guy, Douglas Murray? I don't need any women, but I do need money. Like, yeah. I have a wonderful girlfriend who I love very much. She is my entire life. Baby, if you're watching, I love you, boo-boo.
Thousands of protesters in Israel on the street to Tel Aviv right now. They are of the firm belief that it's his own intractable position on this, which is not going to allow any kind of ceasefire.
That's true. I do have a cat, and all of the proceeds go to feeding my cat. So
Far to be achievable.
But
Douglas Murray is KK curious.
There again, if I can say so, Piers, it's the same thing, which is the presumption that it's Netanyahu who is uncompromising. We end up with this, again, because Netanyahu is a democratically
elected
leader, and so it's assumed that some pressure can be brought to bear on him. In my view, it is not Netanyahu who's uncompromising. It's Hamas that's uncompromising.
It's Hamas.
They could have handed back the hostages last October. They could have not done this. I mean, they could have tried to build.
Tim Bob, thank you so much for the subscription. I adopted the bad empanada strategy. What is that? Doesn't he like beg for money?
A state since 2005 when Israel withdrew from the Gaza and handed the place over to them. Hamas could have used the billions of dollars and pounds and euros that British and
That's
European
right.
and
It's
American
September,
taxpayers
you jerks.
gave them since 2006. They could have used those billions of dollars to build up Gaza. They could have made a booming, in the good sense of the term, Mediterranean paradise. They could have created wealth for their people. But you know what they did? They built down instead of upwards. They built a tunnel net.
Built down instead of upwards. Oh my God, this guy. Is this Michael Rappaport I'm speaking to? Dude, this is just so awful. They squandered every opportunity. They built down and not upward, as they've literally destroyed their entire civilization, amounting to what many leaders of the free world and many human rights organizations and international governmental bodies have concluded is an open-air concentration camp. It's like, why didn't they build any theaters, you know? They could have built some schools and hospitals. Oh wait, we bombed them all, that's right. But why did they have to build downward? It's so racist, right? It's like, these people, they're not human. They don't deserve to breathe the air, you know? Why did the people in Auschwitz not start their own theater company? Thank you, Batman, for the 100 biddies. He has a show in Israel? Oh my God. Do I know Too Lazy to Try channel? No, I never heard of that. Is that good? He's the last white knight of the old European patriarchy. Dude, fuck the West. Fuck Western civilization. Free Palestine. Free the Middle East. Get America out of the fucking Middle East.
Network bigger than the London Underground for all
Like, what does this guy have anything to do with fucking Palestine?
those years.
Dude, you're from London. Like, what do you think you have agency to tell these people how they should be living? What?
And they squirreled away the money, just like Yasser Arafat did before them, and they made themselves rich. Why was Ishmael...
Gorilla, thank you so much for the 5 gifted. I'm feeling good about that. Thank you. Look at that guy. Look at that. Isn't that Lebanon? What do they call that? The Dakbe or the Dabka? It's the Dabka. Thank you, Gorilla. Show yourself, Gorilla.
Capitalism's gonna kill us all.
The Dabka, that's right. Come on, Gorilla, say what's up. Come on now. Don't leave us hanging. Give me the 5. Oh, there he is. Alright, thanks for the 5 gifted. How many Jews today can be traced back to the Jews in Palestine thousands of years ago? I would surmise very few. You should make a GIF of the best Dabka and then share it on this stream, and then I'll put it as like a command alert or something. The choices between uber genocide and genocide, can you really blame people for choosing either? Can you blame them? I mean, we are totally complicit. I am complicit, you know. Our entire society is complicit in this, and I've actually been arguing quite a bit with these liberals, these liberal darlings, of the Democratic Party who still want to run defense for Kamala Harris and Joe Biden, and the mental gymnastics that they have to do to cope about it. And I think everybody should understand that Trump is a symptom. Trump is a symptom of democratic ineptitude. And there's two sides of the same coin. They're showing you that. And anyway, that's another discussion. Let's keep going. I know there's a lot of links we got to get to. We're going to get to them. Don't worry.
Worth billions of dollars. Why does Khalid Mashal? Why is he worth billions of dollars? Why are they?
I mean, that's big if true. Why? Okay, so he says, why is Khalid Mashal, who was the former head of Hamas, who I don't know if he has a role. I'm sure he has some sort of role in the current political makeup of Hamas, but I don't believe that he's a billionaire, okay? But let's just assume that he is. I mean, Trump's a billionaire. Trump was the president of the United States. Does it mean that, if Trump's a billionaire and he's the president of the United States, just like Khalid Mashal was a former leader of Hamas and is a supposed billionaire according to Douglas Murray, which I don't believe. But if that's the case, does that mean that we need to murder all Americans because their leader is a billionaire? I'm just asking. I'm just trying to show you the principles, or the lack thereof, I should say, of people like Douglas Murray who want to cry foul about Hamas leaders living in high-rises in Qatar, and so that's why we should head on with the full steam ahead with the genocide, You don't like him, but he isn't saying that? What are you saying? What do you mean? The genetic tracing says they stay isolated in marriage, so they aren't German, but they're more German than they are. More German than German. More German. Okay. Than they are Arab. Trump stole his money before the office. Well, I mean, yeah, if you're a fucking billionaire, you stole the money. I mean, that's... How many languages do I speak? I speak the only language that is necessary, okay? The only language that is necessary. I speak American, okay? That's right. I can go to any corner of the earth and they'll say, no matter where, they'll say, right this way, sir. That's right, I'm fucking full-blooded American. I speak good English like. Look, that's why America's the greatest country. That's why you guys all want to learn English, because we got that freedom. We got that freedom and democracy. We're forward thinkers, okay? We represent the course of humanity. We're carrying that torch. You seen Statue of Liberty? You see what that's all about. That's right. You guys are just jealous. Jealous that I hit the geographical jackpot. All right. Bite that metal and pop that cork, baby. Gorilla says it's actually the statue of Satan. Now, don't you dare talk bad about my Lady Liberty. Super fucking Dave. I was about to blush on that one, but no. Crank your hog is just a funny expression, isn't it? Who says that, America? The French can lick my balls, okay? The French, fucked up with the Maginot Line, all right? They needed America to come save them. The French are pussies. They lost to the Nazis, all right? Then big bad America had to come in and save them, all right? This is the story. I'm just repeating the shit that I was told as an American, how proud I am and how, that's why we had to change them from French fries to freedom fries. I actually love the French, people. When I went to Europe, they were very kind, and I never did keep in touch with them, but they took me out to dinner, and that was nice.
Their children like princelings who live in apartment complexes in Doha because they took the money of Americans and Brits and Europeans and they took it for themselves and kept the people of Gaza in immiseration and poverty.
So what you're saying is they took the humanitarian aid given to them by other countries and they went to live in apartments, huh? So they have apartments? Damn, they sound fucking rich. That's crazy. Okay, two things about this. I mean, I'm being facetious and sarcastic here, but okay, A, why are they dependent on humanitarian aid in the first place? And B, why can't these leaders operate within the territory which they administer? Why are they forced to be in exile? And why are you not actually characterizing it for what it actually is? You feel me? Does everybody smell what I'm stepping in? He's saying they squandered the humanitarian aid. Okay, why are they dependent on foreign handouts? And secondly, why are they in exile in Doha?
There has been since 2005 a complete counterfactual of what could have happened. But the Hamas leadership didn't want that. They have said themselves they want to use Palestinian children and their lives in order to pressurize the world. These are fanatics. They want the death of their own citizens.
If somebody gives me 5 subs, I will stop talking. I will stop this video, okay? If you want me to, I'll stop torturing you, okay? But I just need somebody to step up with 5 gifted subs.
Their own citizens.
Remember, it's September Subathon.
In order to get world opinion turned against Israel. Again, how do you negotiate with that?
But if not, we're just going to listen to this guy's...
The assumption always is in the West today, because we're so sort of fat and lazy in our
Wait, that's the first thing I actually agree with him.
Expectation that peace is the norm. And that
Yes, Tandava, 5 subs will make me stop. That's right.
Historically it's the norm. We're so full of our own expectations and presumptions that we always think that wars end by some kind of compromise and coming around.
Yes, that's true, Conqueror, and you're good, okay? I'm speaking to the rest of the classroom, okay? All right, we got one on the board. Tandava stepping up with a gifted subscription.
Under the table, to use the cliche. They don't. Historically, most wars end because
That's all you get, no stopping. I need 4 more. Okay, well, I guess I'll just keep going.
One side wins and one side loses. And one of the reasons, in my view, why there is this endless rounds of war in this region.
Here comes some vitriolic racist shit that's about to spew out of this jar of mayonnaise. Let's hear it.
Is because the Israelis are never allowed to win, and Hamas, in this case, are always allowed to draw. And I think that is simply...
The Israelis are never allowed to win. What a cope. Oh, let's pull out the fucking violins. Poor Israel, never allowed to win. Wait, who needs your... Why do you need permission? Why does Israel need permission? Why aren't they allowed to win? Are you trying to sort of, in a coded way, say that they're held back by the United States, their daddy? Are you saying that Zaddy doesn't allow their ethnic cleansing campaigns to come to fruition? And Hamas is allowed to draw. Yes. What is he implying there? We can't completely eviscerate them without... Here's the translation. He's like, we can't eviscerate the Gaza Strip without the international community going up in arms. Okay, so that's what he means by allowed to win. Allowed to win? Well, he's framing this, he's couching all of this in the language of war, as if it's a war, when we know it's not. It's an illegal occupation. So allowed to win, what does he mean? Let's decode that. That means allowed to ethnically cleanse Palestine. Genocide the people. Remember, land over people. Land without people, I should say. And Hamas is allowed to draw. You can't quite kill them all. I mean, yeah, Daddy is oppressing us by giving us money and everything we want. And any sort of minor pushback on our completely insane psychopathic policies is met with, complete derision and divisiveness, as if it's like World War III. Hey, thank you for the super chats. I saw one from who dat? Super sticker from Mo says, a pair character dancing under a rain of confetti and taking his hat off to say, "You are amazing." Thank you, Mo. I appreciate the $20 super chat. Thank you. Slave owners are held back by the slave. That's right. Daddy won't allow us. Scotty doesn't know. Death Star is our star destroyer in the Middle East parsec, and if it didn't already exist, we'd have to rebuild it. That sounds like eerily close to a Joe Biden quote, where he said if Israel didn't exist, we'd have to invent an Israel. Thank you, Gus, for the super chat. I have so much fun. I just watched Ben getting destroyed by a random TikToker. You're a legend, man. Thank you. I appreciate that. Thanks for the super chat. I, depend on the kindness of strangers to keep this going. So I appreciate all the support you guys give me to continue streaming. Subs are cheap, bro. Thank you for the... 5 subs are cheap. Yes, they are. They are cheap. Exactly. I'm not asking for much, right? Don't paint me as some insubordinate twerp. Okay? I'm not like that. Thank you, Muslim Revert, for the super chat. Thank you, Mastermind.
To set up the precursor for the next conflict. If Hamas come out of this with a fighting capability...
Yeah, to set up the precursor. What does he mean by precursor? Pretext. They need a new pretext for another invasion, for another raid, for another bombing campaign. It's all pretext, right? What is Israel famous for doing? Illegally raiding the Gaza Strip, inciting a reprisal, much predicted, much foreseen by Hamas, and then using that reprisal as a pretext for a larger escalation and expansive campaign.
Then there will be another round of this war in a couple of years. So when David Lammy and others...
He's like, the occupation must continue. There'll be a new ethnic cleansing campaign in a couple years.
Say what we need to have is a peace deal. I'd say on what terms? Everybody wants peace except for Hamas and the fanatics. Everybody else wants peace. All of these people in the south, these kibbutzniks and the party goers and others who were murdered on the 7th, all dreamed of peace with their Palestinian neighbors and brothers and sisters.
Actually, that's really, honestly, let's see. That's big if true. You say all the Israelis, they just dreamed of peace, right, Douglas Murray? I have here, it says Alon Leal, the former ambassador to South Africa, Israel's former ambassador to South Africa, said, "It seems that we Israelis have come to the conclusion that we no longer need peace. Wait, you just said that that's what every Israeli wanted. All the kibbutzniks and peaceful party goers, they all just wanted peace. Well, not according to your own former ambassador to South Africa. Although, is this guy? This guy can't be Israeli too. Is he just speaking on behalf of Israel? Like, no way is this guy Israeli or Jewish? Whatever. Well, according to Israel's former ambassador to South Africa, it seems that we Israelis have come to the conclusion that we no longer need peace behind the separation wall, and with the army's might, we are more or less safe without peace. The economy is growing and Tel Aviv is booming. Thank you, Gorilla. We'll do a smoke break in just a second. The occupation is not a source of great moral discomfort to us. Except for the minority which does combat military service, the military oppression of Palestinians is out of sight and out of mind for the average Israeli. I'll say that again. This is the former ambassador to South Africa on behalf of Israel, Alon Liel, says the military oppression of Palestinians is out of sight and out of mind for the average Israeli. Many of us tend to believe that the conflict can be managed forever, and Israel no longer has a, quote, Palestine problem. Now, isn't that quite illuminating? And flies in the face of what we just heard from this bagel schmutz.
Nixon ordered Cambodian genocide. Clinton sent cruise missiles to Sudan, people died. Gave the orders to do drone strikes.